Welcome to Issues and Answers with your host, Diane. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Diane.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane. Am I the bearer of bad news or good news? You can decide, because there's an election around the corner. I don't have to tell you that. November 7th is an election. We certainly hear about all these offices, but did you know that 4 of the 9 Albuquerque City Council positions are open for election this November 7th. Now here at KCHF-TV and Issues and Answers, we invited all the candidates to be a part of our program so you can get a better look and hear what they have, their opinions on the priorities for Albuquerque. We know what you and I think are the priorities, but what do these people who are going to make decisions, what are their priorities? Well, those who have accepted our invitation will be our guests and will be on this program, and you'll see and hear what they're thinking about, how they're going to improve our city. We know that we have our part to do, but we do elect them. And part of our part is to go out and vote. So of course, there's going to be early voting, absentee voting. We're making it easy, but election day is November 7th. I'm going to introduce you today to Brook Bassan. She is currently a city councilor on the Albuquerque City Council, and she is the incumbent running again for re-election to her position. So stay with us as we meet Brook Bassan right after this.
Hey America, now there's a place where we can join our voice, Real America's Voice. Real America's Voice is coming to a town near you with a grassroots approach, bringing the real voice of America together. Real America's Voice is growing our family of networks across the country, and soon you could be part of that change. Download the Real America's Voice app and join other Americans just like you across the country, coming together for real.
As I mentioned here at Issues and Answers, at KCHF-TV, we've invited the candidates for city council positions. 4 of the 9 are up, and the election is November 7th. And when I looked at Brook Bassan's website, and you can look at her website to learn more about her, but we have her right here in the studio, you can find out what her priorities are, and I think, those kind of make sense. Brook Bassan, welcome to the program, and thank you for the public service that you've given our city and the fact that you want to run. You want to do it again? You want to do it again?
I do. It's been an honor to serve. I've learned a lot. I want to make sure to help people and continue on my mission to listen to what they need and do what I can to represent them.
You are a mother of 4, a wife, 4 kids. Yes. Wow. Living in Albuquerque.
Yes, all 4 of us, my 4 kids, my whole family, the 6 of us. My husband and I were born and raised in Albuquerque, and we never left. We attended school here. We have our own business here. We have families that have businesses, and we now have our 4 kids here. And we want to make it better. We recognize a lot of the same problems that Albuquerque has, and we want to make it better.
District 4 is your city council district. Where is that located? Slowly.
It would be nice if it was a very square district, but it's not. So roughly it's from the Arroyo and Montano near Costco, Kitty Corner, all the way to Florence and Ventura in the far northeast heights.
Okay, so it's kind of a long, narrow going from the west all the way up.
The furthest east, when you get to that end, it's Wyoming, but then part of it includes Quintessence near Eubank, and it gets very jagged up in the eastern part of my district. But it's very great, and there's a whole bunch of families and community up there that have a whole bunch of needs just like everyone else.
What is your business, Brook?
Well, my husband has a pharmacy that he's a partner with, and he does vaccination clinics throughout the state of New Mexico.
Okay. And why did you decide in 2019 to run, and why the heck are you running again?
So in 2019, I decided to run because friends asked me to. The incumbent counselor, or the counselor that was leaving, Councilor Winter, ended up deciding to retire, and friends thought that I would fill a need in a similar way that he did, so they asked me to run. I was part of the PTA, I was part of the neighborhood association, very involved in the community, and they wanted me to be a part of that. And I decided to listen to them, and my husband told me, if our friends are asking for help, who are we to say no?
Very nice. How would you characterize the last 4 years on the Albuquerque City Council?
Well, that's part of why I want to run again, because I've learned so much. I think that I've done a really good job of representing the constituents in the district and hopefully further in Albuquerque. But I think that right now there's still a lot of work to be done. And I mean, everybody we talk to talks about, what are you going to do about crime? What are you going to do about homelessness? How are we going to make Albuquerque safer? It's the hot topic on everybody's mind because it's still a huge problem. And while I don't have the singular answer to solve all of that, I absolutely want to dedicate time and effort to making sure that our city government does everything they can to keep people safe in Albuquerque.
What are the biggest challenges to that, to the city? And before the show, I talked, I believe in personal responsibility. We're all responsible for our neighborhoods, our own homes, to be safe.
Right.
And what we do in our actions. And we can't depend on government to solve everything, our problems, but it is a priority.
Right.
And the city council and the mayor and the governor and our legislators do have a hand in help solving the problem.
Absolutely. And I think that with wanting to keep people safe and having some personal responsibility, our city is getting to the point where we're starting to, in my opinion, victimize the victims further. We're causing them a problem and we're not actually helping them. And I think that that's something that needs to shift. Criminals are learning that they can get away with so much here in Albuquerque and maybe even in the state of New Mexico, but that dynamic has to shift, because when people that are law-abiding and working hard and accepting personal responsibility become victims of crime, the city government does have a responsibility to make sure that they go ahead and come in and do the public safety service that they are there to do.
It may be just touching the surface, but we have seen, I mean, of course we hear the numbers. We hear how, I mean, you hear the numbers, you read about the numbers, the murders here in the city, warning people don't even go downtown because of the problems. You could get shot or killed. But we could, passing Carlisle and Montgomery, every time I pass that Montgomery and Tramway, no, Montgomery and Carlisle, I gotta lower my head. Shootings happen in that neighborhood. There's shootings, it seems, everywhere. So going out at night is just a big problem for many people. Sometimes you have to work and you have to go out at night. But
sure.
The question I'm trying to spit out is, it just seems when we see people grabbing things at the grocery store, at Walmart, at these big box stores, the liquor store, grabbing things and just run out. It's just, we see it.
Right.
It's more visual. We hear about the shootings and the murders and all that, but we see people just shoplifting and taking off.
Right. Well, and it
still seems like the crime is getting worse.
Absolutely. And I think that part of the problem is that, yes, I think that the businesses should do what they can to have security, but that should not be the only thing. I think that what you insinuated too, you said that people are running out and walking out, but really they're starting to walk out. There is no shame in stealing from businesses and from anywhere in Albuquerque, and that has to change. That is completely unacceptable. And, you know, especially when you see videos of that, or if you're in the store paying, you're probably paying for your own items while you're watching people walk out with cart full of everything that you would otherwise spend your hard-earned money on. And that's a problem. We have to change that. And that's where, to me, working with the state and the legislature to make sure that we do support the retail theft crime bill and make sure that we really move forward with that. But again, shifting the dynamics so that the criminals learn that we will enforce laws. The laws that exist, we don't even need new ones, because it seems like we have a problem enforcing what we already have.
So what have you been able to accomplish as a member of the City Council the past 4 years to help resolve this problem?
Well, I mean, part of what I've done is working with supporting small businesses, especially during COVID. I was able to pass a bill that had $10 million of relief going to small local businesses here in Albuquerque, and I'm very proud of that. But also working again with other organizations or with my colleagues on the council and the mayor to try to make sure that whatever we do, we make sure the mayor gets the chief of police to run the department and enforce the laws. On a positive note, not necessarily directly related to crime and homelessness, one of my largest proud accomplishments that I've had in the last 4 years is we've come further than ever on the North Domingo Baca Aquatic Center, and we've raised almost $40 million, and we are scheduled to break ground in early September for a 20-year long-awaited project that voters have approved and the community wants. I do believe it will help with giving children somewhere safe to play and things to do so that they stay out of trouble, so that as they grow, they will hopefully not have such a likelihood of going down a path that may be choosing crime.
And that's going to be, I think, to the west of the senior. There's a senior center, North Domingo Senior Center, and the tennis courts.
Yes,
and
it's going to be right in between those. So it's going to be right in between the North Domingo Baca Multi-Gen Center and the tennis courts.
And when should the completion of the North Domingo Baca Aquatic Center be?
Well, in all hopes, then the plans that we're given is that by the end of 2024, this project should likely be completed. There still is some more funding that has to happen, but if I'm still around, I definitely want to keep working on that next year with the state and see what we can do with the collaboration and get that final funding so we can finish this project.
Thank you. Regarding back to well, you said that's part of public safety because the kids will have a place to go and maybe not go down the bad path. But regarding police officers and the situation, you as a mother of 4, businesswoman here, grown and raised in Albuquerque, what is the root cause of our crime here?
Oh, I think that there's a whole bunch of potentials with that. But if I had to pick the top root causes of crime, it would be drug addiction. There are so many people that are addicted to drugs that have behavioral health and mental health issues, and we do not have adequate services to be able to help all of them. I know that the Gateway Center is something that the administration is working really hard to open and help, but after funneling tens of millions of dollars into this facility, it's not something that we're seeing the results benefiting the community. And I really want to push to make sure that that happens so that we can see taxpayer dollars at work to benefit the community and help minimize drug addiction and mental health issues that we have here.
There is the talk of drug addiction, but I understand now there's more of an organized crime element, which is relatively new. I'm not sure if it's more in Santa Fe or throughout the state, but tell me a little bit about what you know, because we've always heard, oh, we got burglarized when I was on vacation. Oh, that's because it's the drug addicts. But I understand it's a step further than that. It's this organized crime element that they're breaking into homes, they're stealing things and making a lot of money, and they're successful at it.
Well, and I think it's part of it, right? You have the organized theft, you have people breaking in to get their next fix, and then you have the larger picture of that with the organized crime. And I absolutely think that we need to relook at the immigrant-friendly city bill that we have here in Albuquerque. We need to be friendly to all immigrants. I'm a firm believer of that. I welcome anybody and everybody, especially those that make up the fabric of our culture. But I don't welcome people that are criminals. And I think that we need to take a serious look at making sure that we send a long message and a firm message to criminals that they are no longer welcome here and we will not tolerate them.
This organized crime, is it coming from Mexico?
I don't know for sure, but
someone in the know, what do you know about it? I mean, I think the governor recently made a pledge against organized crime, and I know Santa Fe, I've heard that it's not just the drug addict breaking into your house or your car. It's people who are, I've been told, but you know better, that are actually paid perhaps a salary to go break into people's cars, break into their homes, and they collect everything and give it to the organized unit. It's like a job for them. Is that true, Brooke?
I'm not sure if that's true. I think that it's definitely a high possibility. And one would speculate, including myself, that it makes sense that there are gangs, cartels, and all of these other people moving in from Mexico into Albuquerque and New Mexico because we are so tolerant of crime. And I think that that's a big portion of the message that we have to make sure to receive and tell people, because I'm not okay with it here in Albuquerque. No one is, and we have to do that shift for the culture here and protect people.
Are we still, is it a sanctuary city, Albuquerque?
So the bill is, the resolution that passed is marking it as an immigrant-friendly city, but otherwise known as a sanctuary city.
That has not passed yet?
It has passed.
Yes.
It passed in 2018. It
Right.
actually passed even way before that. And it was revisited and passed by the council in 2018, adding to some of the friendliness that we have here.
Adding to, making it even friendlier.
So-
meaning don't stop people who are suspected, but how does this prevent the crimes, these gangs and cartels? I mean, they're here.
Right.
They're here. They're here. Anyways.
Absolutely. And I think that that's part of it. Is if people get arrested for committing a crime, that's unfortunate. And they, some people, it's accidental in some cases, right? There's not everybody that should be penalized with something too extreme. However, we don't seem to be penalizing a whole bunch of people who are creating violent felonies. They're doing human trafficking. They're actually committing narcotics felonies. Why aren't we doing something more about that, especially when we do have the potential to have federal assistance that can come in and prosecute or get involved in any of the legal matters of a situation, including potential deportation, when you're creating such violent crimes here in Albuquerque, making us one of the most unsafe cities in America?
What could be done then? Just rescinding this immigrant-friendly status?
You're right. I mean, and I'm kind of digging into it and looking into it just a little bit to see what we could do. It would take the council to support it, and it would take the mayor to support it, because if it was vetoed or if the council doesn't support it with at least 6, then this wouldn't go anywhere anyway. But I think that it's time where no matter what political affiliation residents in Albuquerque have, I think that most people are recognizing something has to change, and maybe this is it. While we can still nurture and embrace people that are coming over into Albuquerque and moving here because they want to add to our culture.
I'm touching a lot about public safety. I'm sorry, I guess that's a concern of mine.
Right.
What are your constituents telling you? I want to give you an opportunity to talk about something other than public safety, but what are your constituents saying is their concern?
It's public safety.
Okay.
So really, I mean, 4 years ago when I was campaigning, 3 things at the doors. What are you going to do about crime? What are you going to do about homelessness? And when are we getting our pool? So
The
here
pool,
we are.
we got the pool. Okay, you gave us a date
Here we
for
are
that.
4 years later, and the pool, we're making that happen, which is why I think that even though crime and homelessness are 2 of the very top priorities for people, we are not done, and we have not even begun to make a dent.
I just saw something recently on Tramway, and sometimes I don't call some people homeless, maybe street people. If they choose to live on the streets, they're not homeless. They don't want to live in a home. They don't want to live in a shelter. But I think I've seen some signs on Tramway, which is, I guess, a state highway, something to the effect that no trespassing. Are you familiar with that?
I haven't seen those
Okay.
signs yet on Tramway, but
Yeah,
now I'm
something
curious,
like
and
no
I'll have to go and check it
no
out.
trespassing. And then I think there's a posting now, no trespassing right on the corners. But I just thought maybe you had something to do with that.
Well, we have worked on doing a public safety initiative on people that are practicing free speech on medians in Albuquerque. And so that is something that, several years ago there was a panhandling ordinance, and that was not acceptable because people have the right to free speech. But if people are practicing free speech on a median that is less than 4 feet, then it is going to be illegal, or it should be illegal for them to do so.
Because it's dangerous for them.
Right.
and the
It's dangerous
motorists.
for them and the motorists nearby.
Yeah, that's
if
what
they
I think.
fall.
I think I saw something posted regarding it
Yes.
just recently. I've touched upon that. What would you like to share about yourself, about your goals, and why you're running again?
I think it's important. Some of the things that people will say that are negative about me and what I've done in the last 4 years are that I changed my mind. And I think that it's really important to make sure that people are very clear that the reason behind why I changed my mind on a couple of very serious votes is because I listened to the constituency. And when
Give us the example of those 2 situations.
Sure.
So you can clear
Safe
them up.
outdoor spaces is something that we ended up voting on a while back, and I
Oh,
was
you were the decisive.
I was a supporter of it originally, thinking my constituents have asked me to do something about homelessness, and I thought this was the most logical first step that we could possibly come to. However, that was something that constituents, after my original vote, reached out and were very, very firm that I did not make the right choice for them. So I made sure to redirect my course, and I ended up voting in opposition of safe outdoor spaces per overwhelming constituent opinion. And I think that's a strong suit.
And what were their concerns? And actually, I tried to look up the definition of the safe outdoor space. It didn't make sense to me, and I follow the news. What was it supposed to be? What is it, like a park for a safe outdoor space? I mean, what is...
Not a park so much as a piece of property that would have fencing. It would have quite a bit of parameters. It would have up to 45 residents with management, and it would be referral based only. There were a lot of barriers that were involved in it that I think would make it less effective than what the hopes of some counselors were when
Was
this
the
was
location
happening.
a concern as well?
Oh,
Where-
location is always a concern for people, right? I mean, you have people that are sometimes very rarely welcoming location of something like this in their neighborhood, and most people don't want that. But irregardless, it's important to listen to the people that were, they're voting to represent,
What-
you're representing them.
What were their concerns? They did not want safe outdoor. I mean, the terminology, who knows if that's even the naming of it. They were
Yes.
very clever in finding. saying
And I
that
think
name.
that's part of it,
Sure.
is that people
Make-
didn't fully understand the parameters. You yourself just said that it was confusing, and there were a lot of rules, there were a lot of changes. Location is a huge part of it. If people didn't want it in a certain location, they could appeal it. So it was very confusing. It's to the point where it wasn't structured in a way that I think would be what I call low-hanging fruit. We need to figure out something very simple and not expensive and productive in doing something regarding homelessness.
What do
And-
you think that could be, Brooke?
Well, now at this point, after hearing from constituents, I think that we really need to focus in on the drug addiction process and making sure we mitigate that, because we can look at somebody that's living on the streets not because they choose to be, but maybe because they're addicted and because they need help and assistance in getting out of that addiction before they can get on their own 2 feet and into proper housing.
Okay, but what about the organized crime element?
Right, and that's where, to me, we
That's
have
not the
to.
addicts. Those aren't. That's what I'm
Nope.
saying. It's, to me, I understand it's a misnomer.
Yep.
They're not the addicts doing
No.
this. It's
And it is a multi-pronged approach. You can't just say it's one, just like how homeowners have their own personal responsibility, well, public safety and the police department does too. So that's why I think that in addition to drug treatment, we need to make sure to go after the felons that are selling these drugs. We need to actually work to arrest them. And then hopefully, Albuquerque will vote in judges that will make sure to detain them. Unfortunately, that's not something City Council is involved in, as they're not the judicial portion, but that's something that the city needs to shift on.
what about our police officers? We have a police chief. The city council, the mayor appoints that police chief.
Mm-hmm.
What responsibility does the city council have, and how the police department is run, and how they hire or try to hire officers?
Well, first, I fully support our police department. I know that they're working very hard to keep us safe, and they have nothing but an uphill battle every day in many, many different ways. But I think that the city council, we need to make sure that we help with guiding some of the direction of what our expectations are on the laws in Albuquerque. Again, though, I don't want to create new laws just so that we can end up having this ability to not enforce them anymore. We need to focus and really assist our police in making sure that they can enforce the laws that exist.
But we're not up to our
No.
quota that we need. I think, what is it, 900 and some?
At one point it was 1,200 and it's starting to go down, but we have the goal is 1,200, but right now we currently have between 800 and 900 officers, and absolutely we need to recruit more. We need to retain more, because some of the institutional knowledge
Yeah.
is leaving, like many others in Albuquerque.
Isn't there something to do, were there some legislative bills regarding their retirement, being able to stay on the force and still collect the retirement just to retain them?
Some of it, I think that that's something where, a lot of people that retire, they can come back, but state law prohibits that. So that's where we need to work as a city to urge the legislature to change that.
I have on my list maybe because they're my concerns, driving problems. We hear about the horrible motorists in New Mexico, the cameras, inflation, downtown safety, revitalizations. What topics would you like to touch on?
I think that it would be great to work on, metropolitan redevelopment areas as far as revitalization. Some of the older buildings and properties, we tax everything in Albuquerque and in the state of New Mexico. I feel like we even tax taxes at this point. So I think that some tax incentives so that businesses can revitalize and redevelop would be very beneficial, not just for downtown, even though that's a very important part of the city, but other parts of the city too, so that we can really make this a vibrant location for people to live, work, play, and enjoy.
There was a vote, I think, recently, or in 2023, regarding changing the city leadership to a council-mayor form of government, meaning a stronger council,
Right.
less so more of a figurehead as a mayor. But that was that one of your votes as well? The last
I voted in opposition of the strong mayor proposal, and I say that because I think that with
strong mayor or strong council?
Well, it would be, the bill was to have the voters decide if they wanted to get rid of our strong mayor system and have what's called a weak mayor or a city manager. And I voted in opposition because I think that the democratic process allows for voters, they should elect their executive leader. They should be the one that goes and decides who should run the city, because that's the executor and the administrator of all of the city. And voters should have a deciding factor in that. And when you read through the specifics of the legislation, it would be to where we wouldn't be able to necessarily pass legislation as a council, but almost work backwards and easily defeat it, because if there was a tie in every of the votes, it would just be an automatic failure. There was an amendment to make the mayor somebody that would be a voting member of the council. So there would be 10 voting members running the city. And to me, that doesn't seem to work well. There was a law involved that I really believe that voters have the right to decide who leads them and who is running the city and to hold them accountable.
But I guess they thought if you vote for the city councilors who appoint the manager, you're in a sense voting for the manager.
And 5 councilors could effectively pick the manager or get rid of the manager, which is 5 people get to decide if they're having a bad day and fire somebody or not, and I don't think that's appropriate. In addition to the factor of making sure that these 10 people running the city actually have a representative voice and they're not just there for some kind of political drive or gossip.
Brook Bassan is the incumbent running in District 4 to retain her city council seat. The election is November 7th. Believe it or not, we have like a minute and a half to go. What else would you like to share with the audience that I haven't touched upon, or what would you like to tell them about yourself?
Yeah, I just really am proud of living here in Albuquerque and wanting to be a part of everything that we do. I want to improve it, and I'm not done yet.
You've got more time than that, Brooke.
Oh, well, there you go. So I think that it would be an honor and a privilege to continue to learn and to be able to continue moving forward on the path of representing and listening to constituents and not just deciding what's best for me and my family, but really what's best for the community. And I would be really happy to be able to do so again.
And having served for 4 years, do you see that a city council does have what it takes to get the job done, or is it larger than that?
In the last 4 years, I absolutely think that things have evolved and gotten a little bit better when it comes to the makeup of the council. However, I'm very hopeful that next year we will move in a better direction too, so that we can actually make some more improvements with the makeup of the council and some of the decisions.
To be in a better direction, what would that take?
Well, I think it takes being a little bit more conservative, and I think that no extreme is any good thing. However, being more conservative here because people are getting away and we're being too nice and we're being too friendly, and I think that that's a problem because it's causing harm to people who are trying hard, working hard, and making good decisions.
Very good. Brook Bassan, thank you for sharing what you've done and what you hope to do if you represent District 4 again in the Albuquerque City Council.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for watching this program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Make it a great week with your family. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The New Mexico Modern Child Support Family Program works to benefit both parents for the purpose of improving children's lives. It provides the basics of child support, but goes further by helping parents step up to find better job opportunities that get them back on track to paying their monthly child support obligation. Find out how the Child Support Step Up program can help your modern family. Contact New Mexico Child Support today to learn more.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program or to purchase a copy of any Issues and Answers program, visit sunbroadcasting.org or call us at 505-345-1991.